Antimatter.
OMG.
Antimatter has an insane value. What is the world's most expensive substance? Antimatter is $62.5 trillion per gram. Okay. Um, this is actually kind of crazy, and you might not even believe in antimatter, but I'm actually going to prove it right. The baseline is necessary in order to understand antimatter. There is actually no such thing as antimatter. It's not a real thing. Okay. Macroscopically, microscopically, microcosmically, antimatter is real. All right. Relative to quantum bits, meaning protons, neutrons, and electrons, they function in a type of way that emanates light, right? Light will refract off of them because of their kinetic energy. It refracts off of them a type of way and permutates through them a type of way, depending on the type of light, right? Well, antimatter is something that scientists figured out where it can take quantum bits, understand them, put them in a box. They go over and figure out all the scientific values and put it into an antimatter formula. And then when they touch a quantum bit, when you're looking under a microscope, that quantum bit goes away. That is antimatter. All right. Antimatter is real in a microcosm. Now, what I want to talk about is how, why, there's, and like where, and like it just, there's so many things to understand about antimatter. But first, I want to talk about is developing antimatter. And I just did, right? They have to figure out the baseline, and then they have to figure out the equation to destroy the baseline, right? And then they come up with a solution, and then the solution is the antimatter, right? That is development. So after development comes into ownership of the developed product. How are you going to own it, right? How are you going to keep it, right? That's the whole idea that a lot of our brains struggle with, is like, wouldn't it just destroy the matter? No, not necessarily. You actually don't use quantum bits. You actually use other things instead of quantum bits, like light, for example. If you're shining light in every single direction at it, you can actually keep it in a magnetic levitation. It's not necessarily magnetic, but it is a form of levitation, right? You're keeping it away from quantum bits because it destroys quantum bits. It's particularly designed to destroy quantum bits. And that's the whole idea, is you need counter antimatter. Counter antimatter stops antimatter from functioning like antimatter wants to function and destroy matter, right? You need to hold it. So basically, if you have counter antimatter, you already developed antimatter. Now you can develop the antimatter's counter as well. So you go over here, you do a bunch of tests, you think about like the design of the kinetic energies of this antimatter and what would keep it in place, right? What would keep it in place even if it was touching other things, right? Even if it came in contact with other things with actual forward momentum into another thing. How can we build something, right, to keep it in stasis, right, and to keep it the same? And that would be counter antimatter, right? And you just get a case of this stuff, right? So first of all, you would need a lab to even buy this stuff, because if you brought antimatter into the real life, it could literally kill you. We're talking about like the world's best assassins. They just like release the antimatter and then you literally die. Right. But that is besides the point. I want to talk about ownership of it, right? And sales of it. Well, first of all, that kind of a money is between governments, right? And big tier conglomerations that are entities the size of a government, right? Because trillions of dollars is, we're talking like some of the biggest, most wealthy conglomerations and people in the world are going to be the only people that can buy 1 gram of it. And when you have 1 gram of it, it's going to be a phenotype of antimatter. One phenotype of antimatter purchased for that kind of a money. Now, this is different. If you are talking about levels of antimatter at this point, like this can be the level 2 design or the level 3 design, right? Or the level 99 design that's worth 10 quad trillion, which is a quad trillion is 1,000 trillions. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking something that's where the 69 trillion was way down here in this category. You're talking about this. That's a lot of extra buckaroonies at the end of the day, because a level 99 antimatter is going to destroy so much more types of matter than a quantum bit, because antimatter doesn't have 1 bit for 1 bit. All right, let's talk about antimatter's kinetic energy. All right, now if an antimatter has 0.1, all right, multiplied by 0.91 of a quantum bit, right? The quantum bit equals 1 kinetic energy, right? Assumedly. That's kind of what I'm trying to display here, is if you forcefully interact 1 quantum bit, and this is like a level 1 antimatter, right? And this is just a normal quantum bit, right? An average quantum bit that has the kinetic energy of 1 per se, right? And this antimatter, right, it has a kinetic energy of 0.1, right? When they meet, the antimatter does not actually do its job. It fails to do its job. It actually has to have equal kinetic energy inside of its operating system in order to actually remove the mass. And you would say, but wouldn't it remove 10% of the mass? No, not necessarily. Not unless it actually was designed to do specifically that. So if a 0.1 kinetic energy equivalent to a quantum bit antimatter comes in contact with a quantum bit, it can actually feed energy to the quantum bit because it's not powerful enough to destroy the quantum bit. Because we're talking about no energy is created nor destroyed. Antimatter is not created from nothing unless you're talking about virtual reality. And matter is not created or destroyed from nothing. All right. So it's only alternated into other phenotypes. So we're talking about like burning quantum bits right now, which is like really, really, really hard to do, because quantum energy isn't really even in the top, like it's not even in the like world's like science open source yet. You know what I mean? Like quantum entanglement is like barely being researched, and that's tapping into quantum energy. Quantum energy is like infinitely more than nuclear energy, and nuclear energy blows up, multi-million-dollar government labs. So we're talking about one of the most powerful sources of energy in the universe, quantum energy, and sub-quantum energy past this point, sub-light energy and sub-color energy. These things are going to be coming out very soon. Quantum entanglement is just assumed like anything that's faster than a frame of human perception, which is roughly 60 frames per second. So anything that goes, that happens unperceivably, meaning it doesn't happen in our 60 frames, it happens in between the 60 frames, right? And some people have higher frames per second too. So it's assumedly things that can happen at super long range distances. So the speed of travel is like the universe in under 1/60th of a frame of a second. That's assumably the area of what quantum entanglement is looking at right now. Well, whatever. I want to get back on topic here and talk about how this operating system, meeting this operating system, what's supposed to happen is if this is one and this is one, the idea is this is custom made around this, right? To blow it up and remove it from mass and put it into the energy fields and disperse it, decentralize its kinetic energy and mass all around the world. Chaotically, randomly, controllably, whatever. Preferably back into the developer's control system to be able to like fully understand the mass and energy inside this quantum bit. You hit it with your own energy, destroy it, and put it into your network. That's preferably, that's ideal. But you also have vector dilemma. There's infinite vectors inside of here, and possibly infinite vectors inside of here, even though you created it. You can only have up to a level of certainty of vector dilemma solved because of dark matter, antimatter problems. Dark matter, I've been talking about it a lot recently. Light matter, I've been talking about it a lot recently too. Things that emanate light that we see. See, everything that we define is all around the baseline that we have, and the baseline we have is our human body. So basically, everything that we can tell, the truth that we can discover, is basically all revolving around our truth, our reality, our baseline. And why is antimatter $62.5 trillion per gram? It's because it's an arms race to get the knowledge of what antimatter is. That's why I said that there's 99 plus levels of antimatter. People are buy sell trading proprietary antimatter development, right? Because the whole idea is to strengthen the quantum bit, like to work with us humans, us perceivers, us livers here. We want to know all of the antimatter formulas, right? All infinite versions of possible antimatter, right? Infinite, finite, whatever you want to call it. In a 4D theorem world where we have a rate of decay and a heat death, there's going to be finite and diminishing, finite minus or infinite minus, meaning like we don't know the state of the infinity, and once we get to the state of the infinity, the terminal maximum, there's going to be a minus. Then we extrapolate all of the terminal maximum antimatters and all of the underlying antimatters, and then we build Haven off of that. So, like I said, the arms race in order to be God is kind of revolving around antimatter phenotype ownership. And if you do buy some from another company and they prove that it's antimatter, and you're buying it because you want to test it, you want to put it under a microscope, you want to run quantum entanglement networks through it, you want to not destroy it, you want to figure out who, when, where, why. And the thing is in order to holy grail, meaning figure out by force a antimatter bit, right? Especially from another, because they're probably not going to give you the formula. They're not going to give you like the vector formulas of this, because it's probably going to be proprietary. You're going to have to smash things into it, predict what's going to come out the other side, right? And then hopefully you're right. And if you are right and you didn't totally destroy the antimatter bit, right, then you can kind of, test your hypothesis scientific method in order to get to the root fundamental, that which is the formula of the antimatter, right? And this has actually got to be one of the hardest things in the world, because 1 gram of antimatter is only going to give you like, who knows? Like, it depends on so many different things, right? Like, what is the mass? Like, if you ask here, how many quantum bits are in a gram of metal?
It is a two-state mechanical system.
It's like
one of the simplest quantum systems.
You're never going to get an answer, because it's going to be a variable, right? Like, it's not like that's basically the same thing. It's like antimatter is like the word metal, where like iron is like more specific. Like I could have probably gotten an answer if I said how many quantum bits are in iron, like how many protons are in iron, how many electrons are in iron, how many neutrons are in iron, right? I probably could have got an answer, but you're not going to get an answer in antimatter because antimatter is going to be a proprietary custom element, and it or non-element. It's kind of a both of a thing. It's and yet it's not. It's neither. It's not an element. It's more of like another block of quantum bits. It's not going to be an atom. It's not going to be something that's made out of the element chart. It's not going to be something this big. Typically, it's just like a neutron, except it operates like a boson and it wants to destroy stuff. It's not gray matter or dark matter. It's not necessarily light matter. It can be any of the three, and its specific design is to destroy and alternate proton, neutrons, and electrons. But I hope this helps you guys understand a little bit about antimatter today. I had a conversation with one of my coworkers today. Shout out to him because he inspired me to make this video today. Because, here's the thing is like, I don't know what you need to know. Is like, I know so much I'm at peace with what I know. You know what I mean? Like I learn lightning fast. Like sometimes I learn like 10,000 things all at once. Like I'll have one revelation. I'll be like, oh, and like a million things. I just learn them all at once. And then I don't like really put it into video format because I already know it. And I learned it in like half a second. So it's like, to me, it feels like you would know it in half a second too. So sometimes I need to learn what y'all don't know, and then I can make a video about it. So if you guys have any kind of like theology, preferably logic-based theology, not like religion theology. I don't really get into that too much. I get into like logic farming. My brain is like a logic farmer. Anything that deals with logic, like if you set up the foundations for logic and ask me a question, I'll probably be able to help you out and solve it, or find some way to solve it. But yep, there's my video for today. Omgbomber.com here with another episode on antimatter. Next time I want to talk about light matter, dark matter, and gray matter. They say that gray matter is in our brains, and a lot of people don't understand that gray matter is actually a phenotype of open source mixed with closed source. Instead of the color that you have gray material in your brain, meaning the whole idea is that the matter, if you select another conscious being's brain's matter, it will alternate into a different operation just by looking at it. By looking at it, you are going to, in a way, release kinetic energy in that vector, causing your operating system to attack your own vectors and alternate those vectors that should be void to be moved and altered into a different redundancy, meaning it is dark matter operation or gray matter operation, meaning it is here to allow you to remote control it. It is here to allow you to interact with others, but is not here to bend to the will of others. So it knows itself, and it is able to warp around others faster than others can perceive and experience. So it deals with quantum entanglement and super high kinetic energy and alternating states of operation faster than you could possibly imagine. So there's a little bit more on Bomb Squad College today. Thank y'all for watching. Have a wonderful day. I'm out. Peace.